Oh, hello. Okay, we're recording. Okay, so today we are talking about how to make a slideshow. Now, as I was saying, if you want to figure out how to make a slideshow or a web gallery on your website, all you have to do is type in free website slideshow, free website gallery, or something like that into Google. Ignore all of these paid ads that are here at the top. Ignore the ads on the right. Scroll down to the free stuff, right? And you'll see that there's like really literally probably 30 pages of these, right? So how do you decide what you're going to use? Well, you kind of have to look through them, find something you like, make sure that it's easy enough for you just starting out, and then try it out and see if it works. Now, you can see that this link right here is purple, meaning that I clicked on it because I just thought, well, heck, I'll just be like a regular dude trying this out, and so I'll try this, right? So I clicked on this wow slider. Clicked on it, went and looked at it, and they said, wow slider, awesome slider for non-coders. Hey, that's me, right? Non-coder. So it shows you all the cool stuff that it does. There's tutorials. It's got that word free, which is I'm so happy about, right? And it looks like it works on Windows and Mac, right? I'm like, yes, awesome, right? So of course, what did I try to do? I got on this computer here, the school computer, downloaded it, and tried to install it, and what happened? It laughed at me. I could hear it snickering, right? Because these computers won't let you install any software, right? And I thought, oh, that's terrible, you know? How am I going to show this to people and demonstrate how they can use it at home, right? I thought, wait a minute, I have this cool little laptop that Pima let me use, right? Which doesn't have all that icky virus protection on it. So what I did was I went over here, download for Windows and Mac. Now this cracks me up. These guys are funny, right? Check this out. It says, enter your email and you'll instantly get the free download link delivered to your inbox, right? And you're like, oh, you know, they want my email, I'm going to get all the spam, right? Thank God I created a fake email account, right? When I started up, you know, and you're like, okay, I'm going to give them my fake email account. This is the email account I gave all you guys, just kidding. Okay, you can see I started it back in 2003. I use my fake name, Gary Loggins. Okay. Like they're not going to figure that out. You know what's so funny about this? It's like, okay, I'm going to do some anonymous shit here, right? G. Lamo. They're like, oh, they'll never figure out who I am, right? So, and then I put Gary Loggins here. But check this out, right? So you click download now, and it says, please check your email for the free download link. Oh, by the way, you could just click here and download it. So you didn't even have to give your email, right? What a crock of shit. Okay, so anyway, then you click on one of these links, either Mac or Windows, and you download it, and you double click to launch it, right? And what happens is you get this software, the Wow Slider. Now, you guys realize that I'm just showing you one of many, many different pieces of software you can use to create a slideshow. This one is pretty easy and has a lot of flexibility, and so I thought I'd show it to you because I think it could be valuable to you. Now, of course, you're going to have to download it at home or on a laptop because you can't do it on these computers, right? So let's just see how easy this is, right? It says drag and drop images or folders here, or click the plus sign to get your images in, and then basically you just hit that publish button and you can export it in a variety of ways, right? I said, okay, that sounds cool. So what I did was I went out to Google and I Googled, let's see, I Googled what? Nope, I did something different. You can't, no, it's not pigs or cows. It's bears. Okay, so here it is. I got 3 bears, and I made sure they were all the same size. They were 600 pixels by 600, right? And I just put them in a little folder called images. So then all I do is I click my plus symbol, and I say, you know, I want everything in this images folder. And I hit open. And there it is. It brings in all my images, right? I say, okay, I'm ready to publish it, right? So I click the publish button. And it says, okay, where do you want to publish this stuff, right? And I'll say, well, I know, I'll make a new folder on my desktop. I'll just make a new one called Gallery 2. And I'll say choose. Now here's what's really great about this. Look at all these options it gives you. You can publish this web gallery to your desktop into a folder with an index page that it will create, right? You can publish it to an FTP server, right? Using information I gave you, it will publish it right to your server. You can even insert it into an HTML page, right? You can just, it says right here, open your HTML page, click inside the page to select where you want your gallery to appear, then click Insert Before, right? And then it's even got options to insert it into Joomla software or WordPress software or to share on Facebook. So this is a very well thought out software and it's really easy to use, right? Well, I'm just going to do the easiest one, which is make my little website here on my computer. So I'm just going to put it into that folder right there and I'm going to hit Publish. Now it automatically is going to show me a preview of it, and this is it. It created it like instantaneously. Now, some of these things that it's done, like the fact that it put the name here, the fact that it put their little logo here and stuff like that, I could actually go in there and hack that stuff out, you know, with my HTML code or in the preferences when I make it, right? And right now I just got the default slider, which is using these transitions and moving at a certain pace. But if I wanted to, I could go in there and change all the settings and make everything different, right? In addition, this is the free version, right? So I'm sure that they have a paid version. Oh, look, here's the paid version, 20% off, right? So let's see. And it says, by the way, that you can use this for free for anything that's non-commercial. And let's see what the paid version, how much that is. We get a 20% $20 discount. Okay, it's a little pricey, not too bad. A single website is $69, so you get $20 off that, so it'd be $49. And notice that it's what's called unbranded slides, which means you can get their little thing off, their little watermark, right? And you can put it on one website, and you get a year of customer support and free updates for a year, right? So, you know, you can try this out, try the free version out on your website, and then if you like it, you can spend $49 and buy the real one. So like I said, this is one of many, many, many pieces of software that you can use to make a web gallery and then just take the code and put it on your website. So in my case, if I went to that folder that I made, which is called Gallery 2 on my desktop, I would look in there and I would see what's in here. There's an index page that they made. There's something called an iframe, and then there's something called Engine 1, which has all of their little arrows and all their little script and everything, JavaScript. And then there's a folder called Data 1, which has the images in it, my bears. And then it's got something called Tooltips, which maybe that's some kind of little bear thumbnails or something like that, right? And so if I wanted to, I could take this index page here. I could launch it in Dreamweaver, and I could edit it. In fact, I could probably take the code of it out and drop it into my regular website. So let's see what the code looks like. Now, does anybody know what an iframe is? By the way, it's not something that the people at Apple made. An iframe. Okay. So when you have a website, here's your web browser, right? And a web browser is something like Firefox or Google Chrome or something like that. And then inside of that is your website. Okay, and so we'll call this a web page, right? Now let me ask you a question. I think it's a question that has a pretty obvious answer, but I'll ask it anyway. Is your web page restricted to showing you just content that's on your server?
Yes.
No. Okay. For example, if you put a YouTube video on there, where is that YouTube video living? It's living on the YouTube server, right? If you take their embed code and drop it in here, you're actually showing something from another server, okay? Now when you're doing that, you're using a piece of technology called an iframe. And what an iframe is it's literally a little window in your website that brings in something from another location, all right? So what the iframe is doing, because remember there's a folder in there called iframe, what that iframe is doing in the case of this slideshow is it's probably bringing in some functionality from Wow Slider's server to power the slider and make it work, right? It's probably also bringing in their little logo, you know. So if we look at this code here, we see that we see that we have a regular HTML stuff here, and then we see that there's some keywords here. They're basically saying, hey, this is a WoW slider page. Then we see that there's a link here to some JavaScript, which is in their folder, the folder called Engine 1, which is what powers the slideshow. And then right here, all of this stuff from here down is the slideshow itself and a couple more calls to JavaScript, right? So all of that stuff right there, if we literally took all this junk here in between the begin body and the end body tags, and we cut that and we put it into our web page, and in addition, we took the stuff that they put in the header here, so all this stuff right here, and we dropped that into the head section of our page, this slider would work perfectly, right? Now, in addition to that, in our website, we also need to make sure that we drop these folders. We have to put the data folder, the Engine 1 folder, and the iframe index. Because in order for this to work on our website, it's going to need all this stuff in exactly the same relation to each other, right? So let's say that my web page here, I'll show you an example of it, right? So let's say I want to put this on my website, okay? So I'm going to make a new fake page here. Okay, here's my HTML page. And I'm just going to put a div in here. So I'm going to say div, and I'm going to do something called an inline style. I'm going to say width equals 960 pixels, and the height is 600 pixels, and the margin is 0 auto, which means center it on the page. And let's say the background is a light blue or light gray. Okay. Okay, so that's my div right there. And then I'm going to end my div tag. Now, if we look at the split view here, we'll see that there's some sort of error in my code. I don't have an end quote mark here. Okay. Okay, so if we look at the design view here and we zoom out a little bit, which I can do down here at the bottom of Dreamweaver, there's a little zoom out button. So we can see that's my web page right there. Let me preview it in Firefox. Okay, so here's my web page, and it's kind of floating in the center there, right? Okay. So now what I want to do, I'm going to call this page index, because it's going to be the first page of my website. I'm going to replace whatever's in there. Okay, that's the index page. Now, I'm going to go over and I'm going to steal their code. There's two pieces of code I absolutely have to get. One is this section in the header, which links both to their style sheet, which is inside of the Engine 1 folder. It's called Style CSS. And I need this call to their JavaScript, which is also inside of the Engine 1 folder. So I'm going to grab those two pieces of code there, and I'm going to go into the header section of my page, which is anywhere between the begin head and the end head, and I'm just going to paste those in. So you can see those are pasted in now, right? Now I'm going to go to the body that they have here, and I'm going to select, I don't really care about the background color of their page. I'm just going to select everything, all the divs and everything, including the script, and I'm going to go into my page and I'm going to paste this between my div tags of my div that I made. Okay, and now let's look at my page. Well, we're looking at my page with the WoW slider code in it, and we're seeing that there's some code in there, and we're seeing that there's some little images here with broken icons. What does that mean?
That they're not linked.
Right, it can't find the images that it's supposed to display. Why can't it?
You don't have to.
Because I don't have the folders in there that it made, right? Remember I told you that in order to make this work, we could cut and paste their code into my page, but we also need to have all of the folders that they have in exactly the same order, right? So right now I've got an index page, but I don't have an iframe page, and I don't have the engine folder, and I don't have the data folder. And all of that needs to be in the same folder as the page I'm making in order for this to work. So I'm going to select those three and copy it, right? Now I'm going to figure out what folder I'm in. A good way to figure that out is you can go into Dreamweaver and you can roll right over that and it'll say desktop, my sites, DAR 256, okay? So we go desktop, my sites, DAR 256, and we can see in there, there's that index page that I made. Here's the untitled page that I made that I don't need anymore. So what I'm going to do now, and here of course is my STE folder or file which I use to import my site, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste in these other three pages, or the index page and the two folders, so that everything's there. And look, when I go back to my page, suddenly it can find the bear because those folders are right where they need to be, right? Now, and you can see over here that this screen refreshed, and now I have the index page, the iframe page, the engine folder, and the data one. Now, if I upload all of these, this never needs to be uploaded. This is just to import into Dreamweaver, right? If I upload all of these to my website, then it will work on my website because all the folders and files are there. So if I connect up to my website, and then I click on this file icon over here, which gives you the split screen view, I can go over here to my remote files, which are on the left side. I can right-click or highlight both of them, then right-click on them and choose Edit and Delete. And that will get rid of, clear out my folder, right? Now I can grab all this stuff, shift-click it to highlight it, and click the up arrow to upload it to my server. I'll get this little screen here which tells me about my progress. And of course, if you have a fast internet connection, it's going to zoom. It's always going to ask if dependent files should be included. Once again, dependent files are images and style sheets and other things that you need to make your web page complete. Now, since I'm already uploading everything, I can say no, I don't need dependent files because I'm basically uploading everything. And then it's saying, well, you made some changes to index.html. Do you want to save it before you upload it? I'll say yes to all. Okay, so now you can see that with the exception of the My Websites SCE file, which always stays on your computer, we've uploaded all the files, right? So now, theoretically, if we go out to my website, which I'm using for this class at http://www.dreamco.org/a/index.html, then we have the slider, right? So now this is just using one piece of software. Now let me give you guys a fair warning. You may go out there and find like the coolest looking web slider or gallery possible, but it might be a bear to code, right? They might say, okay, first learn JavaScript. Second, and then it might be really hard, right? So you might consider starting out with something very simple like this just to get your head wrapped around it, and then move on to the more complex stuff. Now, if you feel like challenging yourself, be my guest. But if you're having trouble, then you could try something easier. And of course, here's something that works right here. And of course, we're just exploring one aspect of it. If you look on the WowSlider website, there's just tons of choices of things that you can do. So there's what are called skins, which are, it's the interface itself. Look at all these different options. Well, they kind of went away. It'll work on touchscreen devices. It works on Mac and PC. All kinds of cool stuff there. You can look at some examples right here of different sliders, and so on and so forth, right? And then these are some of the features, right? One of the nice things is that it's not powered by Flash, which means it can be seen on mobile Mac, Apple devices, right? It's powered by jQuery, which you'll hear a lot about, because that's one of the things that came in to help replace Flash when Flash was having problems showing up on Apple devices. Okay, So, that's just a demo of one way that you can get interactive stuff up on your site. And like I said, there's many, many options, and you can use as many as you like or whichever ones you like. But keep in mind that interactive content like slideshows, videos, music, animations will make your website that much more powerful. Okay, questions? No? Why don't you guys take a break? See if we can make a form together using one of these cheesy sites, right? So we'll just go to this top one here. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to try Wufoo, just because I think the name is cool. Let's see what it says. Wufoo is a web application that helps anybody build amazing online forums. Okay, let's make sure it's free. Let's see. Sign up today for free or try out the demo to see how form. This feels like it's cost something, doesn't it?
Sponsors.
Let's see. Sign up for free. Wait, let's just see what the pricing. Let's see if there's a free. Yeah, see, this is like. Yeah, you got to pay eventually. So you got to check into this stuff. So let's just go ahead and let's just use this Jot form and see if it's any good. So this is the investigation you guys will have to type to. Great looking forms with Jot form. So what I always do is always look at their pricing and see if like it's like a 30-day free thing, right? So it says starter free, 100 monthly submissions, 1 sub-user account, unlimited. Okay, great. So it doesn't look like they're going to charge me anything for this, right? So let's see how it works. Let's go back to the home page here. So, oh boy. So do we just build it right in here or what? Form tools, text box. Wow, okay. So let's just try and build a form here. This is crazy. Okay, text box. Double click to edit this text. Okay, so we're going to say, please fill out the form below to contact me. Okay, so that's a text box. All right, then I want to add a, okay, I want to add another text box, and I want to say name. And there's a difference between text and a text box. A text box is what somebody would fill in, right? And so, let's see. This one looks, I think this one's too difficult. I want one that's going to just make one for me. HTML form builder, let's see. PHP form. No, we don't want PHP. Create HTML form in seconds. Choose a color to start. Okay. Let's try. Okay, we got a color. Sample form. Okay, next. This is what I want. I want something that's so ridiculously easy. You have no fields yet. Okay, click to add a field. Okay, we want a name. Perfect. We want an email address. We want comments. Where's comments? Name, time, address. Ooh, there's nothing that lets me. Paragraph text? Oh yeah, great. Okay, then we want a submission button. Is it going to do the submission button by itself? I imagine it is. Okay, so that's all we want. Their name, maybe we want their phone number. Oh gosh. All right, on second thought, this looks great. Okay, save form. Okay, great. So now it says download your form. Download your form, okay. Open with archive utility. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, what was it called? God knows. All right, let's look on our desktop and see if there. Oh, here it is. There's a page called Form, and then it's got all this crazy stuff in it, including form.html. Okay, let's check that out. Oh, there it is. There's my form, right? Awesome. Okay, so now all we'd have to do is take this folder, which has all the form junk in it, right? Copy it, go to our desktop, go into my sites, paste it in here, go to Dreamweaver, hit refresh so it will update this. Looks like I pasted it in completely the wrong place. Good for me. Okay, so where the hell? Oh, DAR 256. There it is. Let's try that again. Refresherama. Okay, so take the form, upload it to the site. Okay, so now I go out to my site. Which, let's see. Here it is. Here's my site. No, it's not it. That's not it either. Okay, let's just go. You type it A, and then form, and then what's it called? Form.html? Is that what it was called? I have to look. Okay, it's called form.html, right? Okay, and then go. And there it is. So there's my form on my website, right? Now you could always take their code like we did with the gallery, the slideshow, and drop it into one of your pages. Now, the other thing they're going to need you to do in here, I didn't read any of the instructions or anything, but they're going to need you to somewhere in here put in your email address, right? So that when somebody submits this form, it's going to use their servers to process it, and then it's going to send the output to your email address. Now, just like with the slideshow there, I just went out and found a couple of examples. I found the one that I thought would work. I built it, and it worked pretty well. You guys can do that with all of this, with forms, with web galleries, with slideshows, even with JavaScript and things like that. Okay, so now what I would like to do is I would like us to get a head start on Project 3. So what we're going to do...
Would posting your email in in the form of a picture, like a JPEG, would that be as effective, or do they still pay people to?
Okay, this is a great question. So, in general, it is a good idea to use a contact form like this, right? For people to contact you, and the reason is because of what we just saw, which is all the, the CAPTCHA, right? There are, evil spam bots out there that try to grab your email address and send you spam, right? Now, the worst thing you could possibly do on a website is put your email address on the contact page and make it a link. And why is that the worst thing? Because that's exactly what the spam bots are looking for. They literally scrape, which means they go over the sites and they grab every piece of information. They literally scrape email addresses, put them into a giant database, and then they sell that stuff. They sell it to companies all over the world, and they say, oh, you're looking for a male American in the Southwest with a disposable income of -10, and here's Greg LeMond's email address, right? And they sell that to people all over the world and blah, 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 right? Not only that, what's another thing they do? They scrape your phone number. And then, all those robocalls you guys get? Same thing, right? So, of course, what can you do? I mean, you can't help but put a phone number on your website if you want people to contact you. Unfortunately, you fall victim to their scrape-a-ganza, right? Now, this we can't really help very much. You could make an image of it, right? You could take this and do it in Photoshop and drop it on your page, just at the top of the contact page, and that would foil them, right? Because their computers would just see an image, right? So that would be a good example. If you wanted to list your email address, you could. Here's another step you could do. You could say Greg, and you could just say the word @ and say dreamco.com, right? But some of those artificial intelligent spam bots are going to catch on to that stuff too. You could even, I've seen this, has anybody seen Craigslist ads where they put out their numbers? Anybody seen this? So if you go to Craigslist, next time you go to Craigslist ads and they list a phone number, you'll notice it looks like this. They'll say, call me at 520, 3216 or something like that, right? Just to foil the spam bots, right? So you can do stuff like that, but that doesn't look very professional. Now, the best thing possibly to do is just have a form here and just say, in order to contact us, please fill out the form below, right? You can put a phone number as an image or something like that. And they don't have your email address, but as soon as this gets filled out, it will come to you, right? Now, what's great about forms is they obscure your email address. They hide it behind layers of code so spam bots can't get it, right? So that's why email forms are a great thing to use for websites.
Why can't you just make an image of your email address like home.
You can. You absolutely can. But I'm
Wouldn't
guessing,
be
and
a
I'm not
link.
in the spam. It's a great idea. You could make one image that has both of these on it and put it at the
Yeah.
top, and then have a form as well, right? So people can contact you. But I will guess that there's probably companies out there that are making so much money on spam. You know, if they can read those CAPTCHAs, they can probably read your image, you know, and translate it. Like, you know, there's the voice recognition software that can turn what you say into text. They can probably turn an image into
It
text in
seems
a
to me that
database.
every website out there does have it on there.
A lot of them do, and they just deal with it. They're just like,
Right.
you know, dude, we're gonna get spam calls. Yeah.
So when you're filling out that form, to put your email address so you can get everything that they write.
Right. There's gonna be code in there. So I didn't take the time to read their notes or whatever. But you know, it could even, for all I know, it could even be right here. If I go back to Dreamweaver, and I open up this form folder, and I open up form.html, and I look at my code, there's probably
Where would you insert your email address if you had?
I'd have to read. I was hoping that there was code that was really obvious or that it had some comments here, but I don't see it. You probably would have to read their documentation. It's probably super simple. It's like you probably, you know, just it says, you know, go to this place and put in your email address, and then the form will be sent to you, right? I'm not really going to take the time to do it, but it's very easy. You saw how easy this process was. That's going to be just as easy, right? Okay. So what I'd like to do is get a head start on Project 3. So what we're going to do is, how many of you think that you're going to use Project 2 as the basis to build Project 3, by show of hands? Okay, great. Okay, so this is what I'd like you to do. What we're going to do is we're going to copy the Project 2 folder to our desktop. We're going to rename it, and then we're going to drag it back into the Dreamweaver area, okay? So what you need to do is you need to go through your computer. So let me get back to this computer over here, which is the same as your computer. And I'll show you how we're going to do this. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on your Windows button, and then you're going to click on Computer. And I'm going to go ahead and pause this. So now let's go to Dreamweaver. And if your new folder isn't showing up in your Files window here, of course, what we just did before we started recording was we made a copy of the Project 2 folder, and we renamed it Project 3, and we pasted it into we pasted it onto the desktop, renamed it Project 3, and pasted it back into the Dreamweaver folder. So now go ahead and open up your Project 3 folder, and
Mine's not there.
okay, then maybe you didn't paste it into the right place. Did you hit the refresh button? No? Okay, so what you have to do is,
Three right here.
okay, copy. So we go to computer, use files. No, but it's got to be. You should have a folder in here that has all your stuff in it, not just out here. You don't have a folder. Oh, you moved to a new computer. That's the problem.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I have no idea what this is pointing to. Is this pointing to your flash drive or something?
No, this should be pointing right to, I brought this up
Oh,
right
oh, okay. So it's probably inside this folder here. Let's paste it in here. Okay. And then just hit refresh. There it is. I just you have it pointing to this folder. You have Dreamweaver pointing to this folder, so I had to open that up and drop it in there.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. So open up your Project 3 folder. Open up your index page. It's in there. And let's see what we got. Okay, so here we are. We're back to the little pig and cow page, right? For me, you guys have more sophisticated pages at this point. Okay, so what are some of the things we can do to make this a whole new website for our Project 3, right? Well, we might start with our idea, right? Does anybody have an idea of what they'd like to do for their third project that they'd be willing to share with us?
I'd like to do just a portfolio, like what?
What, like Omar did?
Yeah, I mean, not.
No, just rip him off. He's okay with that.
For a student.
Kidding. Okay, all right, so the great example. So let's do a portfolio page, right? So let's see how we would do that. So the first thing we'd probably do, now one of the cool things about Dreamweaver, since it's part of the Adobe suite, is if you have Photoshop on the same computer as Dreamweaver, you can click on an image in Dreamweaver and then launch it in Photoshop. The way you do that is you click on the image, you come down here to your properties box, and you'll see a little button in about the center of the properties box that's a little black and gray PS for Photoshop button, right? Click on that button. Do you guys not see it? You have to click on an image first. Click on an image on your web page. I want to see, you guys may not have it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, you guys have it. And then click on that black and gray Photoshop button. Now, are you guys, is there a problem? Or you can't get in your site, or are you just watching? Okay, great. Okay, so then you click on this Photoshop button down at the bottom, and it will launch Photoshop, the program, and then open your image in there. Now what's great about this is you could then take your image and edit it to be whatever you want. Is anybody having problems currently getting into their site or anything? Yeah.
Well, I don't get that full, well, see, it's not highlighted. I don't select it.
Okay, well you're in live mode. You can't do anything in live mode.
Oh,
Okay, so you click on it and now it's,
okay.
okay, so, oh, actually it's gonna launch fireworks. That sucks. Okay.
This is a theme.
Yeah, I don't, fireworks is, oh, because it's a ping, yeah, exactly. So, that doesn't do us any good. Do you have any pages with JPEGs on them?
Oh, right there. But
Oh, those are, yeah. Yeah, okay, well,
are they all pink?
they're probably all pings, yeah. So anyway, Louis, you can at least understand what we're doing here if you had a JPEG, right? By the way, if you use ping images, they'll launch in Fireworks, which is a different program it's, that you may not know how to use. Okay, so anyway, we're going to start out, we're going to use John's idea. And we're going to make our new page be a portfolio page, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thing here. It looks like my Photoshop is extremely huge because I have, when you use these overhead projectors, they change the resolution on your screen to be really small. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm probably going to select everything in my image here, and I'm probably going to fill it with white, just so I have a tabula rasa or a blank slate to start with. And then, you know, I'm just going to do the world's most boring header, but at least it'll be something new and it'll get us started, right? So I'm going to click on my text tool here in Photoshop. I'm going to drag out a text box. Right now it's still using white text because I had white as the foreground color. So I'm going to change that to black, and I'm going to make, you know, my header here, it's going to have my name on it, and then maybe I want a cool image. So I go out to Google, and I'm going to break the mold here. I'm going to go for something other than a barnyard animal. Look for a guitar. Okay, so we'll look for some images here. Okay, and we'll just get first guitar I see. View the image. Okay, right click, copy image. Go to Photoshop. Paste the image. It's going to be ginormous. I'm going to hit Command T, which is transform in Photoshop. On the Macintosh, it's Control T on the PC, and I'm going to get this guitar in sort of the best way that I can get it. Not a lot I can do with it. It's just ginormous. So, okay. So then, there's my guitar. Okay, there's my header. It leaves a bit to be desired, but at least it's there, right? Okay. Now, one thing that you should always do when you're making headers is you should always save two versions of the file. The first would be a Photoshop version, which would be what you call your master file. And that's something that you can come back to if you need to make changes, right? So I'm going to take this header right here, and I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'll just go and I'll just save it in the same folder where I'm saving everything else. So I'll go into my Project 3 Images folder, and I'll call this header.psd. Now, I'm only saving it there because it's convenient. But of course, you're never going to upload PSD files to the web because the web can't read them. The web can only read JPEGs, GIF, and PNG files. All right? So now that I've saved my master file, so I can always come back and make changes to it, now I can save my JPEG, right? I can say File, Save for Web, and of course, that's going to give me this Web Optimizer version here. I'll save it as a JPEG at 85 quality, and I'll hit Save. I'll go in here to my images, and I'll save it as header.jpg, and I'll hit Save again, and Replace. And now I'll go back to my web page, and I'll replace this image right, oh, there it goes. It replaced it for me because I gave it the same name, right? So, you know, in a very short period of time, you've now got a whole new web page underway because you've recreated the header, right? Now, if I want to add some colors to my page, let's say this is a personal page and I want to talk about my guitar playing or something, I can sample colors from this to use in my background and in my menus and backgrounds of my pages and stuff. So I could go back to Photoshop and I could click on the color picker. I'm going to zoom in on this guitar here. And I can say, hey, you know, this sort of brown gray color here might be a nice color for the background, the body of the page. So I can click on my eyedropper tool, click on that background color, and then click on the color chip, which is the foreground color down here, and that's going to show me the color I selected, this background, and it's going to show me what's called the web color, the hexadecimal web color, right? So I can copy that by doing Command-C, and then go to the Dreamweaver, go to my style sheet, which of course is right here, and for background color, I can put in # and then paste in the color, right? Now, if I go ahead and save this page, and preview it on the web, you can see if I make the page smaller that the entire website now has the same color as the background of this guitar, right? Now, this projector distorts everything. It's actually sort of a nice beige color, but it looks gray up here on the screen. But you can see how I'm starting to put my website together with a theme that's defined by this guitar and by my name, and with colors that are sampled from that guitar, right? So now, maybe, you know, I like this color and I like this light color here. Maybe I want to make the background of my sidebar this light color here. So I'll do the same process. I'll go back to Photoshop, cancel that here. I will sample to get a nice beige color on this guitar. I'll click on the foreground color and I'll copy that color that's down here in the hexadecimal color box. Now I'll go back to Dreamweaver, and I have to identify this sidebar here. I have to figure out what the color is that's in the sidebar. So I'll have to go to my source code and look at my style sheet. I'll have to go down through my style sheet until I see a sidebar, and I'll see that it has a background color right here. So I'll paste in my background color, and we can see that that change has been made. and then when it reloads it with that sort of beigey color, right? Now, I can go through all of the elements of my site, my background color for my main section, my footer. I can find out where the rollover buttons are in my navigation or in the navigation I built up here. And I can make it all shades of brown and red and black and things that relate to that guitar. And in essence, come up with a color palette and a color theme for my site, right? Now, you could do that based on images. Or remember, you have that incredible resource out there, which I hope you will use, of Color Lovers, which is just all web palettes or palettes that people have made, right? You can search the palettes and you can say, oh, I really feel like a spring color palette, you know, for my website, or like maybe I'm making a website that is a fashion website and it's selling spring fashions, right? So I can put in a keyword like spring or like furniture, or you know, anything that you can think of. I have no idea why we just got back here to this. Oh, look, oh, it's got a wow slider. Oh, this is great. So wow slider, because I visited their site, they put a cookie in my browser, and now everywhere I go, they're following me with their stupid ads, right? Okay, so here we go. I hate that, but anyway. If I'd listened to Rachel, I'd just put on ad blockers and I wouldn't have this problem. But okay, so here we go. Look at all the cool spring colors I can choose from, right? And remember that you can click on one of these, and I think if you join their site, which is a free thing to do, you can actually download the color palette in a format that will let you just drop it into your swatches for either Illustrator, which is AI, or Photoshop, and I think that might be CS, I don't remember. But anyway, it's a really cool site. Let's say that, let's try and get something that works for my site, right? So I can type in guitar. Oh, and check this out. Look at that, look at that. So many options to choose from. Look at this, these are all cool colors, and you could use that purple color as a highlight color for like a button or something that you want somebody to click on. You know, look at that. There's another sort of beigey thing here. You know, I could even go that direction. I could type in beige. And look at this. This is insane. There's 45 pages of these palettes. So don't ever say that you don't have options when it comes to colors. You know, think of your own colors and also go out there and look at all the great options that are available for free on the web, right? Okay, so that can be how I deal with the color choices of my website, right? Now let's talk about some of the content and technical choices. So let's look back at the site in the browser. Okay, so you know, this was my old site. This was Project 2, and I want to snazz it up, right? So I'm like, well, you know, maybe I want to put a video on the front, you know, or something really cool like that. So maybe I have like a YouTube channel where I've uploaded, you know, myself playing guitar or something like that. So hey, cool. Let's put a YouTube video of me playing guitar up there. Okay, great. So we'll go to YouTube. We'll find a video of me playing guitar. So we'll just go. Let's see. Okay, here I am playing guitar with Katy Perry. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this share link, and then I'm going to click on embed.
Cutting Edge Collision Center is a full-service auto body.
Okay, and then I'm going to grab this code here, the embed code, and I'm going to drop it in to my website here. So I'm going to go back into my code view here. I'm going to go into my main section, and just in one of these sections here, I'm just going to put in my embed code, and then let's see what this looks like. Oops. Okay, so I know exactly why that's happening. I'll show you why. I have to get rid of the pig because he's taking up too much space. All right, that's gonna, I think, solve that problem right there. Now, the reason that my video isn't showing up is because YouTube will not show content unless it's live on the web. Okay? So if I now upload this page to my website, that John Mayer video will come right in here, right? Okay, and you can do that with any file. You can do that with SoundCloud or Reverb Nation. You can get Vimeo is another website where you can get video and audio. You know, there's Bandcamp, Reverb Nation, SoundCloud, Grooveshark, you name it, Spotify. And you can get embed code and put in stuff. Now, you probably want to put in your own stuff, right? Which means you'd be uploading your own video to YouTube or your own music to Reverb Nation and then dropping that in here, right? Like I'll show you an example of that. Like here's a website that I made. And this website was made using WordPress. So this is a website for my recording studio, which is part of my studio downtown. And if we go over here to samples, we're going to see an embedded Reverb Nation music player, right? Now this is a band we did some recording of. It's a local band called Sock Fight. And we recorded their music. They uploaded it to Reverb Nation. Reverb Nation has a beautiful little player on there. I can go to Reverb Nation and I can grab their code and I can drop it into my page, right? And it's so simple. I just go to Reverb Nation. I search for Sock Fight. Okay, so I search for Sock Fight, and they have a little exclamation point in the center of their name. Okay, here they are, so I click on their little link here. And you can see here's their music player, right? And I can say share all. And I can say embed widget. And it's going to give me all the code right here. Get code. Hit command copy, right? And then all I do is I take that little code and I drop it into my website, and lo and behold, I get a music player that plays all their music, right? I can just click on this. Okay. Right? So you can use embedded players on all of the sites that we just mentioned. So that's a really easy way to get content on your website, be it audio, video, animations, presentations, anything you want, right? Okay, so let's go back to our site here and what's happening with it. Let's preview it in the web browser again. Oops, previewed it in the wrong browser. Now we have to wait for Chrome to start up. Boo! Who here's a Chrome user? Who likes Chrome? You guys like Chrome? Okay. I think Chrome is cool too. I don't know why it runs slow on my computer, but Chrome and Firefox.
It does on my computer too.
Does it? Do you use a Mac?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why it does that, but Chrome is cool because it has that one big address bar and you can search right in there. I really like that. Okay, so so I guess we're previewing in Chrome because I hit the wrong one, but I think I'd rather. Let's see, it's not coming up, so let's just preview it back in Firefox again. Okay, so here's my site again, and we know there's a video up there that will come in when we're live on the web. Okay, so now that I have this page, you know, with all my images and everything saved, let's pretend that, you know, it's a few minutes or hours or however long I want to spend on this down the road, and now I've got this home page completely done. I've got a background color, I've got my sidebar, I've got 5 links up here to pages, and I've linked them all to the names of the pages. Now I can take this page and use it as a template for all the other pages, right? So I could say, okay, I've got my home page. Let's go ahead and add 2 more links in here up at the top. So if we go into the code, we can see that we have a navigation bar that we made up here that has 3 items on it, home, services, and gallery. And those are linked to index, services, and gallery HTML, right? Well, if I just copy the code for the last 2 pages here and paste it in, right, then you'll see, well, I only seem to have done it once, so I'll try it one more time like that. Okay, so now I've got 5 pages there. So I've got home services gallery, right? I can change this page to be called contact, and I can change this page to be called testimonials, right? And then I'm going to go in here, and for the links, I'm going to link my contact page to a page called contact HTML, and I'm going to link my testimonials page to testimonials.html. Now, when we go look at this in the web browser, we'll see that there are now 5 links instead of 3. So I'm preparing to make my 5-page website. Now keep in mind that so far there's only 3 pages created. I just created these 2 links, but there's no pages for them to go to. But I did put in the names of the pages, the names that I'm going to call them, because that's going to make it easy for me to have this work on all the sites. Now, at this point, I have 3 pages in this web directory. I have home, services, and gallery, right? But I'm actually going to delete my services and gallery pages because we're assuming this is a couple hours down the road, and I've taken this page and just made it perfect and beautiful, and it's now going to serve as the template for my other pages, right? So I'll go in here, I'll take my services page, and I'll right-click on it here in my browser or in Dreamweaver, and I'll delete it. And it'll say, hey, this has links to other pages, and I'll say, oh, I don't care. And then I'll click on my gallery page here, I'll right-click on that, and I'll delete that. And I'll say goodbye. Okay, so now what I have, essentially, I'm going to get rid of this other page, which is called responsive, which is one that I just used as a demo. Okay, so now if we look in my Project 3 folder here, we literally just have the index page and the style sheet as pages, right? Well, now I can take my home page, which we're going to assume is perfect and beautiful, and I can save it as all the other pages. So I can say my index page, now I'm going to go File, Save As, and now I'm going to call it services.html, and I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to save it as gallery.html, and now I'm going to save it as contact.html, and now I'm going to save it as testimonials.html. Okay, and so now when I hit this refresh button in Dreamweaver, we see that now I have all 5 pages, index, services, gallery, contact, and testimonials, all stored in my web folder there, all ready for me to add new content to, right? And they're all stacked up at the top here. So now I could go to that contact page, right? And I'll make this a little smaller so we can see it. Now I can go to this contact page and I can say, okay, this is my contact page. I want to get rid of this video. I want to put some new text in here. Like I want to put the word, one thing I highly recommend is putting the name of each page on each page so that it's easy to find it. So I'll call this the contact page, and I'll put a little note to myself, put in code to make form here, right? And then what I can do, remember that form we just made? I could cut and paste that code in here and have this page contain my contact form, right? And now I can save that, and now I can go over to my services page. I can delete the content that's in there. I can write the word services, and maybe I want to make these words big, so I could highlight the word services. I could come down to my properties box at the bottom, and where it says format, I can click on this, and I can click on the heading 1 tag, and what that will do, H1, or heading 1, is the code to make the largest heading, default heading in a web page, and so that's made my services nice and big. If we look at the code behind that, we see that the word services is surrounded by what are called H1 tags. H1 tag at the beginning and / H1 at the end, which means end, and that makes a nice big title for my web page there. Now, let's say that I went on and I wanted to list my services here. So I say, you know, I am a guitar player that plays at the following functions, right? Okay, so now I want to say puppet shows, you know, dog birthday parties, pizza, commemorative events, whatever, okay? So then I can highlight these events. I can come down here to my properties box and I can click on this bullet button. And what it will do is it will put these 3 bullet points here to make a list, right, for my services. Now, let's say that further down I wanted to make another section of special services that I provide, but I don't want it to be as important as this, so I don't want it to have the H1 tag around it. I want it to have the next heading tag down to be the next smaller one. So I come here and I click a couple times and I say additional services, and now I highlight that and I come down to my format and I go to heading 2. And you'll see that this text is slightly smaller than that. And I could go heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, they each get smaller, you know, and go ahead and format additional text under that. Now, in addition, you know, when we're talking about the colors and everything, if I went to Color Lovers and I got a nice palette, and I said, oh, you know, I wanted all of these H1s to be brown, I could go into my style sheet and I could say, hey, let's click on our style sheet and let's put in a color for H1 tags, right? So I'll go up here at the top of my style sheet, and you can put this anywhere on your style sheet, but the top is an easy place to find. So I'll put in H1, which is the name of the tag. I'll put in my curly brackets, and I'll say that I want the color of this to be, you know, and we might pick a color from our color palette. But let's just, for now, let's try and find like a sort of a brown color. And you can see that now my H1 tag is brown, right? And we're assuming this isn't blue, but it is brown like the guitar and like the theme color that I was going to use for my palette, right? So now I'm like, oh, that's great. You know, I've got a format going here. So on every page, I can have a H1 tag at the top, and it would automatically be brown because on my style sheet, I told all H1 tags to be brown. So let me continue with that theme. So let me go over here to my gallery page, get rid of this content. Let me type in the word gallery. Let me highlight that. And let me come down here to this format box and properties, and let me make that, surround that by an H1 tag, and automatically it turns brown because it is an H1 tag surrounding that content. It goes to the style sheet, and the style sheet says, oh, you're an H1? Okay, well, you're going to be brown, right? And so that's how you add consistency to all of your pages, by using the same size, you know, as in H1 tags, by using the same color as in the style, and also by using the same font, right? Now let's talk about fonts for a second. Let's say that I wanted to use a more interesting font than this. Well, if we look at the fonts that are allowed inside of Dreamweaver and web pages, they're very boring. There's like half a dozen fonts, and they're like Arial and Helvetica and Times New Roman, you know, Verdana, things like that. Now, does anybody know why we have such a limited choice of fonts with web pages? Yes, Louis?
Computers can only read so many.
Right, computers can only read so many fonts, and so what they've limited you to is the fonts that are on every computer. Because whatever font you use on your web page has to be on the computer that's looking at it, or else it won't display it correctly. Now, that's the way that I suffered through web design for the first few years, but recently they've come up with solutions that will help you get past this. And what that is these are what are called embedded fonts. And what these are fonts. Remember how we're using like media players off of Reverb Nation, and we're using video players off of YouTube? Well, it's the same sense with a font. It's like basically using a font that somebody else is storing on their server. In this case, Google, right? Because Google rules the world, whether we want them to or not. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do a search for Google Fonts. Okay, Google Fonts. Now, what Google will let you do is choose from a variety of fonts, pick a font that you like, and then they'll give you the code to put on your website so that you can display that font on your website, and it will be basically streamed there from the Google server, right? Now, what you can see here is that Google is going to give you a bunch of different choices of types of fonts. You can have fonts that are thick, fonts that are slanted, fonts that are wide, fonts that are sort of a Latin script, or so on or so forth, right? Or you can just search for things. Well, let's just go through here. Look at the fonts that are just on this home page here. And you can see that they're far and away more interesting than the boring fonts that we get stuck with, right? Okay, so let's just pick one. I don't know, let's do this crazy font right here. Grumpy Wizards, what's this one called? Normal 400. Okay, so let's see how this works. Quick use. That sounds good. Let's click on that button. Choose the style you want. Okay, that sounds good. Notice this little icon here. This is what they're calling a page load icon. And what they're basically saying is, if you use this font, it's going to add this much extra time for your page to load up in the browser because the code for this font has to go to Google. This is basically the response time for Google to get that information back to you. And you're like, okay, that sounds good. So let's see, quick use of trade winds. What do we have to do? Add trade winds to your collection. Okay. So it says add this code to your website. Oh, that sounds pretty easy. Okay, add this code to your website. So link, reference, blah, blah, blah. So, oh, look, it links to Google Fonts. Okay, so let's click in here, a triple click, and copy that. Now let's go to one of our pages here. We'll go to this gallery page. We'll go up to the header. And in between the head tags, notice this is where we put the link to our CSS style sheet between the begin head and the end head tags. Let's put this link to the Google Fonts website, specifically to the Trade Winds font. Okay? Okay, great. So it says add this code to your website. Okay, good, we got it. All right? Now it says integrate the fonts into your CSS. Okay, the Google Fonts API will generate the necessary browser-specific CSS to use the fonts. All you need to do is add the font family name to your CSS styles. Right? It says instructions, add the font name to your CSS styles just as you would normally do with any other example. And so here it shows in your H1 tag, you could use font family and put all that stuff, right? So we're like, oh, okay, that sounds good. So let's just go ahead and take this code here and let's add it to our H1 tag, all right? So we'll come in here to our CSS. We'll go into our H1 tag, which is right here. We've already got a color assigned. Now we're going to add a font family. You guys notice that they also over here put a font weight, which tells you how thick it is. You can go anywhere from 100, 200, 300 up and stuff like that. Okay, and now let's save everything. And let's preview the page and see if it worked or not. And it worked.
So
Okay.
it comes up as text. So you can highlight.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's text. It's still text, it's just using fonts streamed from Google Fonts.
Okay.
And you can only see it when you preview it in the browser. Because I noticed before you click over it.
Yeah, it wasn't showing in Dreamweaver, but if we go to live mode, let's see if it shows. So clicking on live. Oh, it shows there too. Okay. Now, by the way, remember that when you're in Dreamweaver, when you go into live mode, that's only for previewing. You can't do any real work in live mode. It won't work correctly, so be sure and uncheck that button, right? So Google Fonts is a great way to spice up your website with some nice fonts, right? And like Louis was saying, this is still text, which means it's web searchable, it's easy to change and things like that, right? Okay, now because I made all of these pages off of the same home page, they all have the same format. We're assuming that the colors will all be nice and everything, and I'm just going in and replacing the content on each page. What's nice is that the navigation bar still works because when I made the navigation bar, I gave all these pages names that were very consistent and common sense names, right? Which is what you want to do. So the index page is always called index, and then you name each page after the content that's on that page using all lowercase letters, not using any capitals, not using any spaces in the name. If you had a two-part name, you would use a dash, so that everything is linked. So now, when I go try my website out, I know that if I'm on the contact or the gallery page, and I click on contact, that it's going to take me to the contact page. And if I'm on the contact page and I click on gallery, it's going to take me to the gallery page. So, these kind of ideas will save you a lot of time. I'm calling it common sense. Of course, it takes a long time and a lot of experience to get the common sense in any field that you would get from making these mistakes over and over again and wasting a lot of time. So this is the benefit of my experience of ways that you can do this project very quickly. Need leave? That's fine. Okay, so those are some tips for how you guys can work on Project 3 or Final. Does anybody have any questions or other things they'd like to see? Okay, so what you guys are free to do is start working on Project 3, come up with ideas, start manipulating your websites and getting content and putting all that stuff together. Remember, I have high expectations. I'd like to see things that look like real web pages turned in as your final projects. Okay? You guys are good to go. Thank you so much.